So, today I'm going to be talking about PTSD. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. So, according to Horowitz in his book PTSD, A Short History, it was not until the 1980s that PTSD became a formal diagnosis, in part to recognize the intense psychic suffering of Vietnam War veterans and women with trauma-related personality disorders. Ever since that day, PTSD has become most prevalent in veterans. That number, 13.5%, is the number of veterans that are diagnosed. In all reality, that number is probably closer to 30%, as there are countless victims who just never get help for it. PTSD has negative effects on its victims and their families. So what can cause PTSD? So the top two causes are going to come down to combat exposure and car crashes. Oftentimes overseas, you'll see these happen together. An IED might explode on the road, and whatever car the soldiers are in might explode and then immediately lead into combat exposure. However, this isn't the only thing that causes PTSD. What causes PTSD is any life-altering event that causes what we call stress overload. So when the stress overload occurs in your body and your nervous system, then your nervous system is never able to return to its state of balance, and it stays in this stuck state. So what side effects do victims of PTSD endure? So number one, first and foremost, is an unrecognizable personality change. Now this often is the hardest one on family members, as they go through this and the person they married or their dad or mom, whoever they were before they left for deployment, when they come back and over time they become a different person, which can be very, very hard on the family. Oftentimes they'll experience flashbacks that will lead into panic attacks. A big one is avoidance of reminders. So anything, people, places, things, sounds, anything that reminds this victim of PTSD of that day or the event that caused their PTSD, they tend to avoid that. So with that, a lot of times they will avoid social gatherings, they'll avoid even talking to their kids and their closest loved ones. Obviously a big one's going to be negative thoughts, which can lead to nightmares, and being emotionally reactive and jumpy. For instance, maybe if you go behind someone with PTSD and you tap them on the back real quick, or you scare them, or a loud noise might make them jump and go into that stuck state in their nervous system. So how does PTSD affect its victims' family members? Now, the side effects that we just talked about take a toll for sure over time. However, the biggest one that takes a toll is going to be that first one, the unrecognizable personality change. So obviously it can't be easy at all to have a family member who you knew as someone who you so deeply loved and cared for, and even when they get back you still do, but they continually become a more and more different person. That can definitely take a huge toll on families. Violence and short tempers are often something that makes it very hard on family members, because you might do the smallest little thing, you might put something in the wrong spot, or you might just say the wrong word, and they might freak out on you. So according to Carlisle, in the article One Person's PTSD Can Affect a Whole Family, family members of PTSD victims suffer from secondary stress. They may experience depression, anxiety, and substance abuse from attempting to cope with the challenges of caring for a loved one with PTSD. Now, according to Toll, in the article Coping with PTSD and Family Members, the family can either positively or negatively impact a loved one's PTSD symptoms. The first step of these 5 is going to be learning about the symptoms of PTSD and understanding how they influence behavior. So that first step that we just talked about is already done for. We've already been learning about it. Now step number 2 is going to be willing to listen and not forcing it. So tell your loved one, tell your friend, whoever you know that is experiencing PTSD, tell them that whenever they're ready to sit down and have a conversation with you about it, you're willing to listen, but don't force it on them. Step 3 is going to be choosing a time and place to talk. Now this is really important, because time-wise and place-wise, you're going to want somewhere where you're not going to be interrupted, and somewhere where you'll have plenty of time to get the entire conversation done with. Step 4 is recognizing when to take a break. So if you notice your loved one is getting overheated, really stressed out, whatever it happens to be, understand that and take a break and continue the conversation another day. Now, step 5, the most important step by far, is getting help if talk of suicide occurs. So to wrap up, I really just want to hit on that last note that we just said. If talk of suicide occurs, the most important thing you can do, as the stat line is 22 veterans a day commit PTSD, the most important thing you can do is get help. So everything we just talked about, understand all of this, and take it into your daily lives whenever you're dealing with someone with PTSD. Help them, be there for them, and if they really need that extra step of help, please do so to lower that number from 22 as low as we can get it every single day.